spin for your supper. Stomp for their dinner. Then smoothly downshift onto the middle cog of your mono-ring drivetrain's 12-speed cassette, cruise casually down Buckingham Road for the 24th time, dart right along Queen's Place as soon as you hear the piercing wail of sirens and see those tiresome level crossing barriers descending, out-sprint the offending locomotive and its live cargo of rail-bound commuters, execute a seamless U-turn back along Ham Hock Parade, past the corrugated fortress of Dunelms, where delicious grub and a fair trade strain of Britain's favourite bean-based beverage can still be savoured during that housewarming shop for bedside lamps, supersized cotton sheets, and a set of flat-packed garden furniture, and arrive at your paid unstructured workout's principal collection point, having slashed at least 3 critical minutes off the order's total journey time. I took these resourceful and efficient measures so that my patient customer wouldn't have to sing, scream, or pace angrily about the living room of a bijou flat situated upon Lancing's coastal fringe, whilst staring at a motionless dot on their client app's map and awaiting a late lunchtime snack. Overshot my destination by several dozen yards, due to elementary distractions from turbulent southerly crosswinds and a temporarily frozen sat-nav, which only resumed functioning after I'd swiped out and poked back in. After officially handing over 1 juicy quarter-pounder, along with the obligatory box of batter-pickled poultry balls to their peckish recipient, I managed to squeeze in one last drop shipment, the second of the week, from our High Street's exotic Eastern feasting hall, christened after the only mythical creature in its country's calendar, and not to be confused with the virtual greeting card service Funky Pigeon. The pescatarian banquet I was again forced to collect from the kitchen's fire escape consisted of stir-fried king prawns tumbled in heavily egg-infused rice with a supplementary portion of spicy chicken shanks and extra crispy seaweed. After tapping to inform my imperious contractor that shipping had commenced, I routed out my destination within 10 sub-tempo minutes and employing no computational aids, whilst my freshly bagged consignment remained piping warm enough for mortal consumption. 10:37 a.m. Saturday, the 28th of February. Technically the last morning of a quintessentially bleak and frigid British winter. Rolled up beside, then strolled into MCD's drive-by joint for creatively christened burger lovers, to find its willing band of beige collar workers every bite as busy as were the proud merchants of our town's bi-weekly farmers' market, whose well-stocked stalls of sweet cakes and savoury bakes, all still hand-prepared and home-cooked using locally sourced organic ingredients, I'd been obliged to circumvent, en route to this semi-recreational shift's opening pick-up point. The branch's freight departure board was chock-full of numbered consignments, in a fit state for whisking off, though none matched my contractor's waybill reference, whilst a small tower of cubbyholes, mounted upon the service counter and signposted "Mobile Orders," was barer than old Mother Hubbard's cupboard, though evidently these were intended to serve customers who'd used the company's app to specify and pay for their takeaways in advance of visiting. Was asked by 3 equally affable members of staff for the last 4 digits, which is all that freelance meal-wheelers running jobs for Just Eaters are required to provide from the 9-character code they receive when accepting requests, though in each case I knew what the response would be. Ah, yes. We're waiting for 5 factory filleted collops of free-range chicken chest to turn their regulatory shade of Trumpian orange. Then your famished client will only have weekend traffic and a courier's erratic navigation skills standing between them and instant gut gratification. Took official possession of 2 small parcels some moments later, which were promptly loaded into heat-retaining storage, whereafter a simple double-mile scoot across the old village to my customer's contemporary lodgings commenced, concluding in a seamless drop-off, with some tiny talk about spring's imminent arrival. An impulsive potter over to Portslade followed, where, during a fleeting tour of its rustic period quarter, I again lamented that such a crushing majority of boutique coffee shops choose to batten down their hatches and withdraw all small batches at 4 p.m. sharp on a Saturday, when the social cycling community's cravings for collective caffeine hits during civilly paced club rides are at their most prolific and intense. After a nonchalant roll back to native turf via the veritable alpine asphalt of Manor Hall Road, came the tinkling alert from my next stranded citizen, whose remote demands for swift sustenance were due to be satiated with yet another poultry feast, assembled and bagged by Uncle Sam's Burger Bistro, whose comprehensive menu includes beef, pork and chicken patties to fortify their lightly toasted buns, together with the usual mildly melted cheddar cheese, crispy bacon, depth-fried onion rings, and a variety of vegetable fillings, available in more combinations than Taylor Swift's greatest hits, and for roughly the same average price, per digitally downloaded song. Enjoyed a heavily wind-assisted eastbound sail along Elder Shoreham Road, and found my shipment ready for collection in 2 handled paper bags, which I eagerly grabbed and transferred to thermally insulated conditions, before one prolonged poke to assure my employer that conveyance was well underway. Fewer than 10 even-tempered minutes in the monitored endurance zone, and a couple of level kilometres later, Google's hyper-adaptive navigator had successfully routed out my customer's secluded abode. A flat in the middlemost of 3 low-rise blocks, overlooking a neatly kept common, bereft of trees, and which conveniently resided on the ground floor. Approached the building's communal entrance and fumbled around for the correct bell button on its weather-beaten keypad, pushing hard upon the door as soon as I was buzzed admittance. "Thanks, mate," exclaimed my grateful recipient after a rare code-free delivery, showing his further gratitude by handing over a small stack of silver coinage that rounded this sponsored 1-hour workout's total proceeds to a respectable £15.20.